It was supposed to be a peaceful flight, a young black mother holding her sleeping child, finally heading home after months away. But peace ended the moment a flight attendant stopped beside her seat. A glare, a harsh tone, then a slap that silenced the entire cabin. Gasps filled the air. Passengers froze. And for a few seconds, time stood still. No one knew who this woman was, not yet. But the moment she reached for her phone, everything was about to change. Because this wasn't just any mother. This was a woman with power the airline would soon regret underestimating. It had been months since Alana last saw home. A single mother and a successful tech entrepreneur, she'd spent weeks abroad securing a major partnership that would help her company expand into Africa. Now, all she wanted was a quiet flight back to her son's favorite meal and a long sleep in their cozy apartment. She wasn't the type to flaunt her success, despite being one of the youngest black CEOs in her industry. To her, humility was strength. That morning, she dressed simply, jeans, a soft hoodie, and her natural curls tied up. Her 6-year-old son, Micah, clung to his stuffed lion, too sleepy to notice the stares they sometimes got at airports. Alana was used to it. The double takes, the assumptions, the subtle doubt in people's eyes when a black woman carried first-class boarding passes. The flight attendant smiled politely as they boarded, but Alana caught the flicker of judgment in her eyes. It was the kind of look that said, "You don't belong here." She ignored it. She'd learned long ago that peace often meant letting small things slide. As the plane took off, Micah fell asleep against her shoulder, his small hand gripping hers. Alana exhaled, feeling the weight of months lift off her chest. For a moment, everything felt calm, but that calm wouldn't last, because just a few rows away, whispers were starting. A complaint, a misunderstanding, and one woman's quiet prejudice was about to turn a peaceful journey into a headline-making nightmare. Alana didn't know it yet, but this flight would test more than her patience. It would reveal how far some people were willing to go to remind her of her place, and how far she was willing to go to show them who she really was. The flight had barely been in the air for an hour when it began, subtle at first, almost invisible. The attendant, a tall woman with a polished smile, had walked past Alana's row 3 times without offering her a drink. When she finally stopped, it wasn't to serve. It was to correct. "Ma'am, this area is for first-class passengers only," she said sharply, glancing at Alana's ticket as if expecting it to be fake. Alana blinked, confused but calm. "I am in first class," she replied softly, showing her boarding pass. The woman's smile didn't return. She simply muttered, "Right," and walked away. It could have ended there. But prejudice rarely ends where it begins. Micah stirred awake, asking for juice. Alana pressed the call button. No one came. She waited, patient as always, until her son's small voice whispered again, "Mommy, I'm thirsty." Finally, Alana stood to get water herself. That's when the attendant appeared out of nowhere, stepping directly in her path. "Ma'am, please return to your seat," she ordered, her tone clipped. "You can't block the aisle." "I was just going to ask for some juice for my son," Alana replied evenly. But before she could say more, Micah tugged her sleeve, accidentally bumping into the cart beside them. A few drops of soda spilled onto the floor. The flight attendant's expression hardened, and then it happened. So fast, Alana barely processed it. The woman turned sharply, snapped, and with an open palm, slapped Micah's hand. Gasps filled the cabin. The sound, sharp, humiliating, seemed to echo. Micah froze, his eyes wide, his small fingers trembling. For a moment, the world stopped. Alana's breath caught in her chest. Then everything inside her, every ounce of restraint snapped. "What did you just do?" Her voice was calm, deadly calm. The kind of calm that comes before a storm. Passengers turned. Phones lifted. The attendant stuttered. "He touched the cart!" "It was an accident, But her words were swallowed by the growing murmur. The tension thickened, suffocating. Alana knelt to her son, his tearful eyes breaking her heart. She pulled him close, whispering, "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here." Then she stood, slowly, powerfully, and looked the attendant in the eye. "You just put your hands on my child." The attendant's confidence faltered. A supervisor was called, then the pilot. The whispers became arguments. One passenger shouted, "She's lying!" Another yelled, "I saw everything!" Alana didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. Her silence was louder than rage. When the captain finally arrived, Alana said only one thing. "You will contact your headquarters right now." The attendant laughed nervously. "Ma'am, there's no need to escalate this," but it was already too late. Alana's calm had become something else entirely. She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and with a steady hand, made a call. The voice on the other end answered instantly. Respectful, alert, aware. "Get me the airline's CEO," Alana said. "Now." And as the attendant stood frozen, realization dawned. The woman she'd just humiliated wasn't just another passenger. She was someone with power, the kind of power that could shake an entire company. What happened next would make headlines around the world. But in that moment, at 35,000 feet, the only thing louder than the plane's engines was the silence of everyone realizing they had just messed with the wrong mother. The cabin had turned into a storm, voices clashing, passengers recording, the flight crew scrambling for control. But in the middle of it all, Alana stood motionless, her eyes locked on the attendant who had struck her son. Every second that passed seemed to stretch into eternity. The attendant's arrogance was fading fast, replaced by the trembling realization that she had gone too far. "Ma'am, please calm down," the captain urged, his tone cautious, almost pleading. "We'll handle this once we land," but Alana's voice cut through the noise, steady, commanding, impossible to ignore. "No, you'll handle this now." She placed her phone on speaker. A voice came through, deep, controlled, and unmistakably powerful. "Mrs. Roberts? We've been informed there's an incident. Are you safe?" The room fell silent. Every head turned. The attendant's face drained of color. The name Roberts carried weight, the kind of name that opened doors and closed companies. Alana's eyes never left the woman who had slapped her son. "Tell him what you did," she said coldly. The attendant's lips parted, but no words came. The captain looked between them, uncertain, sensing that something far bigger than a passenger complaint was unfolding at 35,000 feet. Within moments, the voice on the phone shifted. Another man came on, this one even firmer. "Mrs. Roberts, please accept our sincerest apologies. The staff involved will be dealt with immediately." But Alana didn't respond. She was too focused on Micah, who sat clutching his little toy airplane, tears dried on his cheeks. "It's okay, baby," she whispered. "You didn't do anything wrong." And then the voice over the intercom. "Attention, crew. Effective immediately, the lead flight attendant and her team are relieved of duty." Gasps erupted. The attendant's knees weakened. She tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Alana sat back in her seat, holding her son close, the cabin around her heavy with silence and disbelief. For years, she had faced quiet prejudice, whispered insults, and forced smiles. But this time, she didn't stay silent. She didn't shout. She didn't fight. She simply let the truth and her power speak for her. As the plane descended through the clouds, one thought echoed in every passenger's mind. They had just witnessed what happens when the world finally sees who it tried to ignore, and for that flight attendant, this was the day her sky finally fell. When the plane finally touched down, the atmosphere was eerily quiet. No applause, no chatter, just the heavy silence of guilt, shame, and reflection. The passengers who had once watched in silence now avoided Alana's gaze. Some whispered apologies under their breath. Others couldn't even look at her. But Alana wasn't thinking about them anymore. Her focus was on the small, trembling hand holding hers, her son, Micah. He didn't understand what had really happened. He only knew that a stranger had hurt him, and his mother had made it stop. As they walked down the jet bridge, the airline's senior executives were already waiting. Faces pale, voices nervous, they stumbled through apologies, each one trying to undo the damage already done. But Alana's calm expression said everything. Some things can't be undone. By the next morning, the story had spread like wildfire. Passengers' videos flooded social media. The headline read, Flight attendant assaults black child. Mother revealed as airline investor's wife. Within hours, the airline released a public statement. The entire cabin crew involved had been terminated, and an internal review was underway. Yet, beyond the corporate apologies and trending hashtags, something deeper was happening. People were talking, not just about one woman's power, but about the countless others who didn't have her privilege, her platform, her voice. Alana received thousands of messages, some from mothers who had faced discrimination in silence, others from employees afraid to speak up. The incident had become more than a scandal. It had become a mirror, reflecting how fragile dignity can be when seen through the lens of prejudice. But Alana didn't celebrate the firings or the media attention. Instead, she chose to act. She launched a new initiative, Fly with Respect, aimed at training airline staff worldwide on racial sensitivity and equality in customer service. "Because it's not about punishment," she said in an interview. "It's about change. No parent should ever fear flying with their child because of the color of their skin." Her words resonated across the world. And yet, deep down, Alana knew this victory was bittersweet. The pain in her son's eyes that day was something no amount of justice could erase. In the weeks that followed, she took Micah on another flight, just the two of them, no headlines, no cameras. As the plane rose into the clouds, she looked at him and smiled. "You see, baby," she said softly, "the sky belongs to you too." For her, that moment meant more than any public statement. It was a reminder that healing begins where fear once lived. And for everyone who heard her story, it became a question that lingered long after the screen went dark. How many more times must black mothers defend their children's right to be treated as human? Because this wasn't just one story, it was a reflection of thousands. A reminder that racism doesn't always wear a uniform or carry a weapon. Sometimes it hides behind a polite smile at 35,000 feet. And until every passenger, every worker, and every bystander learns to stand up against it, the skies will never truly be safe for everyone. So the next time you witness injustice, ask yourself, will you stay silent, or will you be the voice that breaks it?